Salü Zämä, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. This is part 2 of making the skirt for my 1910s costume. We are progressing. If you have not seen the other two parts, I will link them in the description box, as well as all the blog posts that I have written about this project so far, because I feel like I can explain better when I write. The usual. So, as you can see, I am cutting out all the pieces that we need to assemble the skirt, which is what we are going to do in this video. It is quite a long one, and I hope you enjoy. So this is the front skirt panel that I am cutting out, and as you can see, I did add some more length to the skirt, which ended up not being enough, which is sad, but you're going to see that in a minute. And welcome back. It's 2 weeks later and I haven't done anything after cutting out this one skirt piece, so I have to work this weekend. Well, I want to get this skirt done and possibly also draft the corset cover and maybe the jacket, because I'm still excited for this project. It's just I have a lot of things to do, so I did not really take the time to go on with this project, but today it's certainly on my schedule. So I'm going to cut out all the other pieces. The skirt panel that you see there will just be cut out one time. I am going to hem this, but the train I'll cut out twice and line it with the same fabric. And for the overskirt, I think I'm going to do it the same way as for the skirt panel there. I will just cut it out once, and I just realized that my outfit choice for today was not the best. So finally everything's cut out. I'm going to start with the train. So I'm going to sew the lining layer and the top layer together because I need to protect my knees, and then I will just transfer all the marks from the pattern to the fabric. So this step is pretty self-explanatory. I just started to pin together the two parts of the train right sides facing each other because I intended to sew them together, but then I realized what you maybe also already have realized, that I did not iron the pieces and you see the fold there in the middle. So I decided to unpin it until there because I'm lazy, and then I started iron. Then I noticed that it might not be the best to iron the right side of the fabric directly, so I got some cotton and ironed it again to protect the fabric, which is what I did for all the ironing in this project afterwards. But yeah, of course it took me a minute to understand this. And yeah, then it was just sewing those pieces together. I left the upper part open and just used 1 centimeter of seam allowance and sewed around the other 3 sides, meaning the 2 long sides and the bottom of the train. Did not have enough of the thread on my little spool here, which is annoying because, well, I noticed it when I turned the edge, so it's not that bad, but I'm working with some leftover thread that I still had in my stash, but after that I have nothing that would match this fabric, so I need to go thread shopping this afternoon if I want to continue sewing. And that's what I did. But first I finished the train with the thread I had left, and then I turned it around. I used a pen to get the edges nice and pointy in the end because it didn't work that way. And then I started ironing it. Along the way, I also used the pen to make the sides nice. And then I moved on to the overskirt, marking all the things on my pattern onto the fabric. And yeah, I used the stabilo, which was stupid because you ended up seeing this point on the other side, which I realized right there. After that, I used a different pen. So this project was, I did not have my brain together that day, so that's the summary of that. Then I ironed the pleats. I just ironed them at the top because I want them to fall naturally and not ironed, and then pinned them down. I did the same thing with the darts, which is what you're going to see now. I just folded it, I ironed it, and after ironing it, I pinned it down. Here I am not using the towel because I am ironing the left side of the fabric, but yeah, I think I should have done that here as well, but yeah. And after that, I just sewed the darts as well as the pleat. What I did for the darts to not have a pointy edge is I started curving it, as you can see, at the end. I'm not the best at explaining, I'm very sorry. And yeah, the pleats were just stitched in place. I used 1 centimeter here, which was not planned. I wanted to use half a centimeter, and it was a bit tricky with the waistband in the end. And then I ironed everything one more time, as you can see. I am currently doing the hem of the overskirt panel, and what I'm going to do is I've turned it under once and I'm going to sew this by machine, and then I will turn it around a second time and use a herringbone stitch so I have a nice hem that is not visible from the outside. The light is yellow again, which means that it's getting dark and I will stop soon for today. So yeah, I just powered on. This is the skirt panel. I did the darts in the front, and what I'm now going to do is the same thing I did for the hem of the overskirt. I'm going to sew this by machine, then turn it around one more time, and I'm going to do this on 3 sides. So this is the side seam, this is the hem, and the other side seam, because my idea for joining this with the train is joining them with a stitch that goes like in this panel, then a bit back in the other panel, then a bit back to this panel. I don't know what it's called, but maybe you get what I want to say. That's the plan. So I will show you once I'm at that point. What followed were several hours of hand sewing and finishing all the raw edges. Here you see me do a herringbone stitch. I'm sorry that my hand is so prominent. I'm unfortunately no pro videographer, but I tried my best to show you how I did this stitch. It's 3 hours later now, and I'm done with all of the herringbone stitch seams. I did not do the hem. This is the hem of the skirt. Well, I cannot change a lot about the length, but still I thought I would do that in the end, because maybe I will have to leave it down and just clean up the edge here, because I don't know. I noticed that I did not measure, I did not take into account that I'm going to wear my cami boots, which have a heel. So I don't know if this is going to be long enough, so I have the effect of the edge sticking out. So I'm doing that after trying the skirt on with the boots. I am at the crucial part. I am going to join the train with the front skirt panel. I have a new thread, and I decided before I pin it all the way down, I am going to try my plan for about 10 centimeters and then see what it looks like. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, well, then I need a better plan that I still have to come up with. I am very happy. I think it works. As you can see, I am joining those panels. It's like stitch this side, go back, under on the other side, go back, under on this side, go back. I'm going to show you later on, but what it does is I'm not losing centimeters and I can join those panels beautifully. I have to be careful to not have too big stitches because then it will gape, but it will also look clean from the inside, which is cool. So I think I'm going to do that. It will be very time consuming, and yeah, so the video might not be up in 2 weeks, but 3, so let's see. But yes, going to sew on. I need a new Netflix show because the one I was watching is already finished after doing all those hems and those 10 centimeters. So see you when I have joined the panels. And once again, I am trying to show you what stitch I did. By the way, I googled in the meantime. It is called a slip stitch or ladder stitch, I think. At least that's the word I'm going to use from now on. And I apologize again for my hands being quite prominently in the view. After that, I decided to work on the closures. So what I did is I marked the middle of my skirt of the train, and then I stitched the 2 layers together so they would not shift. And then I simply cut the train open. And after that, I wanted to pin the overskirt onto the underskirt to see how far up I would have to sew the back seam of the overskirt. You have seen me stitching together under and overskirt before, but I just wanted to determine the length I need to leave open to do the closure later on and see if I have more or less the same circumference around my waist, and worked out pretty well. Not perfect, but it's fine. So what I'm now going to do is I will machine stitch this seam, and then I will probably take pinking shears and then try to like whip stitch this down, because I don't have enough seam allowance for a French seam, unfortunately. So that's what I'm up to. And here's a tip for all the lazy people out there that are as lazy as I am, because you could spend hours and finish these seams nicely, but you can also use fray jack, which is the option that I opted for in the end, because why would I spend the hours of hand sewing on it if it's not directly on my skin? It will lay on the underskirt, so it is not prone to fray anyways, and it's also not on my skin, so it won't scratch. So fray jack. After that, I tackled the waistband. I measured the circumference of the skirt, which was 76 centimeters. I added 2 centimeters because I want one side of the waistband to overlap the rest of it to add snaps. So it was 78 centimeters long and 12 centimeters wide, minus 2 centimeters of seam allowance, which will result in a waistband that is around 5 centimeters high. And yeah, then I ironed it in half using the trusty cotton piece method to not destroy the nice fabric from the outside. And I did not iron the seam allowance inwards because for this side it did not make sense. Oh, here I'm grooming the frayed edges a little bit before I attach the waistband. So that's why I did not iron the seam allowance inwards, because I will do that afterwards once it is sewn on. And afterwards it's just stitching it on by machine. The first time I used my machine, because this stitch will not be visible from the outside, for stitching down the other side I used whip stitches because I did not want any visible stitches on the outside of my skirt. I have just pressed down the waistband. It is sewn on. I had to go over it a second time on the other side because you saw the seam that I did before to keep the pleat in place. I could also have ripped it out, but yeah, I wanted to have the symmetry as well, because here I used a bit more than 1 centimeter of seam allowance, so that's why I had to go over a second time. And what I'm now going to do is I will press this piece under and then stitch this down by hand with a whip stitch. And then we're almost done with this skirt. And as you can see, I did not give up trying to get nice footage of the way I stitch things. This time I think it is not too bad because you see what I do. My arm is in the way sometimes, but I think it's fine. In the meantime, I have finished all the raw edges of the skirt with slip stitches. I learned the word. It's slip stitches that I used also for joining the train and the underskirt panel. And as you can see, I have already marked some places for the closure. I'm going to use hooks and eyes for these. And then up here I will add 2 snaps and close it with snaps. And I hope this is going to look smooth, but I can add more hooks and eyes if necessary. But I didn't want to have too many because then it would be difficult to close it on myself. So that's the plan. And yeah, I also pressed everything one more time. Hello you guys! As you can see, I have finished the skirt. Well, sort of. There are some things that I may want to correct at a later time, but for now I think I'm done. As you can see, this is the front. The hem is not as narrow as the original because, yeah, I want to be able to walk to the photo shoot, so for comfort and my bone's sake, I made it a little bit wider so we don't have a hobble skirt there. That's one thing, but that's nothing that is going to change. I will leave it at that. But the hem is machine sewn and you can still see it. I think I told you before, I forgot to take into consideration that I am going to wear heels, so I'm a bit afraid that the edges will not stick out anymore if I roll the hem up one more time and finish it by hand. So I will have to think about that when I wear the costume and wear it with my boots. I could do that right now, but I think I'll leave all the alterations that I am thinking about right now to the end, because then I see what is necessary and what isn't. So this is the skirt from the front. I am pretty happy with it, except for the fact that the hem is not properly finished. And I think the overskirt is a little bit short, but it's not too bad. So yeah, I don't think that I will open the hand-finished hem there. I could do that and it would be a centimeter longer, but I think I'm going to leave it at that because I think it looks nice. And here you see the back. I do have several things that I want to correct. We've talked about these edges there before. I need to clean them up, but first I need to know if I want to roll up the hem one more time or not. Then the train I think is nice. It's a bit shorter than I wanted it to be. That's my bad. I think I messed up somewhere when I patterned it, but it's fine. It looks nice. But then the overskirt. I think the pleats don't work the way I want them to work, but there we have 2 solutions. Either the problem will solve itself because there is going to be the jacket over them and we'll press them flat, and there's also going to be the lace part that will be over it, so it might just look fine in the end. And the other thing that I could try is just iron them a bit different. It doesn't look bad from this point of view, but if you look at it from the side, you have like an angle in there, which annoys me. But maybe this corrects itself, or I can try to iron it down in a different way. That's one thing. And the other thing is the closure, and for that we're going to zoom in. Okay, this is where the skirt closes, and as you can see, I do have a gap here. This is because the skirt is a little bit tight, so it tears the snaps forward and it gapes, because originally the gap closed. So what I am hoping is that this gap will be covered by the jacket and the lace thingy, because then there it looks nice, so I have to just cover it until here. And if that doesn't work out, I can still remove those snaps and sew them on a bit further and hope it will still work, because I can lace myself into the corset a bit tighter and it will still work. So I hope that is going to work out the way I want. And that is it for today's video. I wanted to include a view how it looks from the side, so we're doing that at the end of the video. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a nice day, a nice evening, nice afternoon, whatever time it is at your place, and I hope I'll see you next time. Next time I will show you how I'm going to do the corset cover that goes with the costume. I did not start on that yet, but yeah, that's the plan for the next video. So thanks again for watching, thanks for being subscribed. I hope you have a good time, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!